And we're back.
Welcome to Beyond the Science podcast.
I'm your co-host, Omar.
And I'm your fellow co-host, Kiera.
And today, we're going to actually be talking about a very interesting topic about, do you really need to go to school for your craft to be a successful creator? What do you think, Kiera?
I think that conversation really depends on the background that you've had. And I think your opinion on it really depends on how you were raised and, you know, your personal opinion. But I know both of us have had very different experiences with it, because I did not finish school for my I didn't even go to school at any point for my, creative field or creative endeavor, maybe for a semester or two. But you fully went to college and graduated in the degree that really helped you become a creative. So I would really love to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay, so it's interesting because I don't think you should, not you should. That's the wrong message we're sending. Kids, go to school.
Right, of course.
But what I want to say is that if you don't need school to be a creative, I don't think you should go to school.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, I like I said before in my previous episode, is that I went to school for architecture.
Mm-hmm.
And it really helped me shape me to a designer of who I was because of how I grew up. In my background is that I went to a private school that basically catered everyone to be a very technical and very science-based school where arts and craft and being artistic or creative did not exist.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really the school that kind of catered me, architecture school that really catered me to be really creative and very open to the way I create and necessarily open my eyes or mind to different possibility, right? So with that being said, right, for me, going to school actually did help me for my career, right? And actually did help me become a better creator, right? But if it wasn't for the first school, I wouldn't need this school. You see where I'm trying to get at?
Yes.
So necessarily, and I'm not going to say school is a waste of time because school can benefit those. But if it's hindering from doing what you want to do at the end of the day, then I don't think you should go to school.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should focus on your craft and make it better and start literally all that tuition money that you could spend on a traditional 4-year, 5-year program or whatever program you're in. Use that money, invest it into your actual business.
Absolutely.
And build it up. I know a lot of creators who have left school and actually built themselves with the money that they were going to use to invest in the actual traditional 4-year school and become the creator they are. Me and I know a couple of other people who have went through the years becoming a creator, but becoming a professional in their degree, their respected degree, and ended up doing something else. Like one of my colleagues, or one of my actually he was my mentor in architecture school. He was the reason why I went into my first job or got my first job. I found out recently he's actually he owns a marketing agency, and he just,
how fitting.
And the funny thing is he's been working in the profession way longer than me, but marketing was always his passion. And I kid you not, architecture does that to you. Architecture opens your mind to, and I'm not saying advocating for architecture school. If you want to do architecture school, go for it, right? But what I'm saying is that your passion is what really drives you,
Mm-hmm.
right? At the end of the day, if you're motivated and your passion kind of goes hand in hand, then by all means, take that and let it drive you. If people tell me they go to business school, right? With all due respect, I know a lot of people who have, and they're well successful. But if you want to be a business major and you have a business idea, forget school. Just make that happen. Learn through your mistakes. You're going to learn a lot faster, a lot when you're younger, and it's more forgiving than when you get older. And
that's another huge aspect of it.
exactly. And the thing is, it's like a lot of people say, "Hey, I'm too old. I went through this." I'm like, there's no such thing as that, right? It's really about how you, not even how age doesn't apply to anything. I don't want I hate when people tell me that I'm too old for, or I'm too young to do this, or I'll do this when I'm older. No, you're living now. Just do it now. What's stopping you?
It's something that we literally experience today in a certain form that I've definitely experienced a lot in the work atmosphere and in life. Is just people thinking that because I'm young, or the fact that they think I'm younger than I am, you're not given the same opportunities, or you're not treated the same and as a professional. But if you love what you do and you have a passion for it and you do it well, it shouldn't matter.
Oh, absolutely.
Ever.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to know that like age at a certain degree does matter, but not in the sense where it's like it should hinder, like experience wise. For me, when I was trying to get jobs and stuff like that, I usually refused to show people my portfolio.
And why's that?
And the reason being is that you're hiring me for what I'm able to do now, not for what I was able to do in the past. Because as a creative, and a lot of people could like probably agree with me, is that some projects you just can't replicate. Like you've done this and you're like thinking back, it's like, how the hell did I do this? I remember the process, I remember the flow, but it's just not there, right? And I know we're going off topic about like whether to go into traditional school or not, but this is kind of important with traditional school, is that school doesn't teach you about experiences.
It doesn't.
School doesn't teach you how to fail. They teach you only how to succeed. And that's the issue. You can't succeed unless you fail.
Yeah, the most important part about your journey is learning how to handle your failures and turn them into successes later on in life.
Exactly. And the problem is we as a society focus on people's successes. We make fun of people who have failed, right?
Absolutely.
And if you've seen the many times I've failed in my life, you'd probably like it's strange to know like I'm happy with all my failures.
Me too.
I look at it as, hey, this is just character development. Look at it as your story building.
If you're at the highest point and you're never messing up and you're never failing, where do you go from there? You don't have any higher standard to put yourself at. You don't have any goals that you're able to set for yourself because you've already like gotten to that point. Like you don't ever want to reach the point where you're stuck saying, I don't know how I can improve. I have no idea how I can improve.
Absolutely.
That's when you need to really reevaluate a lot of things, because if you're not constantly thinking about ways to better yourself and improve and evolve as a person and in your craft, then, there's no room to move forward.
Right. And it's interesting because I've always seen myself as someone who like does well, as in the sense where like I can vision myself. I can vision my like 70-year-old self looking down at my like 28-year-old. He's like, attaboy. That's where you're supposed to go in life. Keep just pushing through, right? And that's what we need more days. Like I don't want myself to think that. I want people to look at other people and encourage the fact like, hey, like you didn't go to school, but like learn through your mistakes, learn through that. I feel like it kind of goes back to like the way we were raised and stuff like that, because I know for a fact like my parents always told me like, hey, learn from my mistakes, like their mistakes, right? But like, what if your mistakes or experiences aren't the ones that I should experience, right? And here's the interesting part about experiences, because this could be a whole new topic about experiences itself, right? So I live experiences throughout other people, right? So I don't have to be necessarily in that experiences to know how it feels. Like of course, like there are certain perspectives when you're actually in the shoe and experiencing it. But it's another thing to experience it from the outside, because when you're in there, you know how to react, right? So for me, like, there are certain things I want to make mistakes in, so I know how to do it, because I only see the outside perspective, but I never see the inside perspective. Like the one of the biggest factor, right, is that when I finished college, I was in my job, my 9 to 5, just doing. I still was paying my loans and stuff like that, and it was around the time when I told my father, like, hey, I'm going to start a business doing photography. And the first thing that he told me was, no, don't waste your money. Just keep paying your loans out, right? He didn't tell me why, right? But if he would have explained it a little bit more, it would have made sense to me. It would have resonated. But maybe making that mistake helped me to build more. And it actually did, which was, his reason behind not starting it and don't waste my money is because of the fact, to start a business, you need to lose money. You need to be willing to. At first, I wasn't willing to, but like also you can use your skills to make a business, right? He was thinking it from the sense of like, you need to, like, because all of his experiences on opening a business was having merchandise in a store, having products to sell, right?
Instead of a service that you provide.
Exactly. Service based is a little bit different. The money comes in the aspect of the equipment and all that stuff, right? But if I already have the equipment, I can get started with it, right? He just knew who I am as a person. So he would know that I would go out and buy more equipment and keep buying equipment. And you know that so well.
As you do.
Yeah. But like, nowadays it's become a lot more refined, and I understand the business aspect. But if I didn't know that, if I didn't fall into that mistake in the beginning, I wouldn't know how to manage everything else that comes after businesses, like making sure that I have 5 times the amount that I have for that specific item that I need to purchase for the business, right? How to make sure to put it under like taxes and all that stuff. That really matters. And funny enough, school doesn't teach you that. You can seek it out by your own experiences. But I will say this, is that although you don't need a traditional school, and I'm saying traditional school, I think certifications help a lot more.
That's a very different form of education, I believe.
I don't believe it's education. I don't. But
it is education because you're learning.
Right. But the word education has become a very very weird word to say right now, because like when you think of education, you think of school. I'm trying to stay away from school because certification.
It's not traditional education.
Exactly. It's not traditional education, but it's in a form where you're doing trade, like it's a training school, right? It's a trading. Like you're learning your craft. You're being certified in it. I remember like during the pandemic, I literally took maybe 17 different certifications, and each of them were about literally what I was learning in school: design, filming, how to frame things.
But it's just more concentrated, and they teach you in a different way in terms of how to really like hone it and how to really apply it to your real life.
Right. And not to say the school didn't do that, because like there were some aspects. Like I took lights, the study of lights, for 2 semesters in school, which actually did help me. But it's also the interest of what you're doing that will build up. And that's why I like certifications, because it's like how you said, it's very catered to what you want to know, what you need.
And I think, going back to what you were saying before, you definitely have to fail in a lot of ways, not just in your career and in life. Like, you have to fail to learn how to succeed in the future. And personally, I know that when I moved across the country to school, to go to college, and I didn't go to college for photography. I didn't go to college for what I do. I went to college for something I was passionate about, but not for what I really wanted to do in my life. And as a result, I ended up not being as involved in the community at my school, and I was off campus in Hollywood and in LA, making connections and trying to shoot shows and, network with people, and ended up rarely being on campus. And I'm not promoting that. I'm not saying that that's the way to do it. I ended up leaving that school after one semester. And that was really, even though it wasn't the right thing for me, it still felt like a failure. And, after that, I continued to live in LA briefly and tried to live there on my own. And my parents, looking back on it, they'll talk to me about how they wanted to tell me that might have been the best idea. But at the same time, they really, and I really respect this of them, they really wanted to let me make those mistakes because they knew that regardless of what they said at the time, I might have gone and done it anyway. And at least they could support me in the process, which is incredibly admirable of them to think of it that way. But they had to let me make those mistakes. And I'm really glad I made those mistakes because they taught me about, how to navigate this industry and how to make mistakes and get back up and keep moving forward from them, as well as the fact that, while the whole situation in general didn't work out for me, taking myself outside of an educational atmosphere and a traditional school atmosphere and getting like that real world experience meant so much more than what I felt schooling could have taught me at the time. And I did go on to take photography classes, at a different school, but nothing really measures up to real world experience. And so whether you're in school, whether you're not in school, whether you're part-time, real world experience is really just where I feel, you learn the most about yourself and your abilities and your craft.
Absolutely.
And where you can take it.
It really matters that there's a positive, reinforcement of, the environment that you're in. Like, for example, one of my cousins, she actually picked up a camera and started doing her own stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember her brother telling me, oh, look at her. She's trying to be like you. And she started laughing. I'm like, hey, don't laugh. That's a start.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely a start. I'm supporting it. Mm-hmm. I started somewhere. I took shitty
Everybody
photos before.
starts somewhere.
Exactly. You don't start out being fantastic. You got to learn the mistakes, take the worst pictures you can. And till this day, there are some shots I'm not happy about or some footage I'm not happy about. But at the same time, it's really developing who you are as a craft. You're not going to develop the perfect shot each and every time. Mm-hmm. It's about being content with what you're capable of doing. And it's also to tie it into the actual topic, it's that you're being self-taught. You're actually learning and being able to be free to make those mistakes without school has that sort of guideline where it teaches you things, but in the real world or real world experiences, you get that from real people telling you giving you negative thoughts, and it really develops you as a character or as a person in that professional field to be able to take those criticism and be able to make it beneficial to you. And I think from my experiences, I've noticed those who haven't gone into a traditional school are able to be able to use that to their advantage rather than using someone who's went to a traditional school who has been graded for everything that they've done. So when they actually have a client that says, hey, this is
right,
this sucks, it's hey, I went to school for this, I know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not that. It's that you haven't dealt with real people and dealt with real situations to know what is bad and good.
And the thing about school a lot of times is even, as I mentioned in the episode about my journey, the high school that I went to was a visual and performing arts high school. And, I really appreciated it, but I felt like at the same time, it, in some ways, in a lot of ways, just felt like a normal high school. Because yes, while they had majors that taught you about the arts, they had a theater major. I was a creative writing major. You had a vocal major. And, while those were amazing, they didn't really teach you how to apply those techniques and that knowledge into the real world. So if you were in the theater program, you get out of high school and it's like, okay, well, if I want to be an actor or an actress, where do I actually go from here? How do I navigate the industry of acting? And, that goes with every type of creator. How do you apply that to the real world? And a lot of times they don't teach you that. And so I think the best advice for somebody who has or hasn't gone to traditional schooling for their craft is to take every single real world opportunity that is offered to you or that comes along to you or that you seek out. Take every single one until you build up a steady portfolio and you can start saying yes and no to experiences, just for the sake of building that experience as mentally. Just take everything that you can get, because that's when you're going to learn the most.
Absolutely. And with that being said, it is the end of our podcast, or the end
so quickly.
I know. And it's actually funny because like this is probably one of the easiest topic to really talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Not easiest for us, but like it's easy to, because we've went through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have like a different perspective of it, and you have a completely different perspective of it. But with that being said, it is time to close it out. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you like this, right here, like it, subscribe, and our socials, not socials, but our social media, Instagram right here, our Twitter, and our Facebook.
Nobody's going to understand that reference because we took it out, but...
True. But
thanks for watching, guys. We really appreciate it, and we hope that, you continue to watch us and join our community that we got going on, because I think it's a really, really
it's
positive
for you,
thing.
made by us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, have a good night, have a good morning.
And see you next week.
Or next day. Peace.